Anthony Grassi here for College.town at the 2026 NCAA Convention. Happy to sit down with Chair of Division III SAAC, former Juniata student athlete, Lillian Case. Lillian, thank you for joining me.
Glad to be here.
So as you sit here in D.C., what is top of mind for SAAC?
Yeah, so this year we have had 3 subcommittees. One was focused on congressional engagement, so focusing on the SCORE Act was a big priority for us, as well as our mental and physical health subcommittee. They focused on life after sport this year, so we did a lot of experiencing sort of the differences in a graduated student athlete versus a current student athlete and how that identity works. And then our final subcommittee was our D3 downloads, and that has been a great opportunity to sort of educate the membership on what Division III SAAC is, what Division III is, what makes us special, what makes us unique, how is the governance structure put together, and then we've also highlighted specific sports. So we've done like ice hockey, and we did wrestling, we did field hockey, sports that you may not have on every single campus, but that are present in D3.
We've seen a lot on social about all that stuff.
Yes.
On some of those priorities, sitting here in D.C., you guys have been very vocal in the support of the SCORE Act, against potential for student athletes becoming employees. How you would convey that to legislators in Congress is what?
Yeah, so we've talked to a lot of legislators already. We have our Congressional Engagement Subcommittee, and so they've set up meetings with their members of Congress, and I've had the opportunity to talk to some as well. And our biggest piece is that employment piece. The SCORE Act is really important for us because for Division III, we cannot be employees in order to keep our current model. So Division III schools do not have the funds necessary in order to help our Division III student athletes be paid. And so we get our funds through other things, other experiences throughout campus. And so the SCORE Act protection on that special status of student athletes is really important for us.
How have you, within the SAAC room, within your campus, as you talk to people within your conference, what is the conversation like around that topic specifically?
Around the SCORE Act or
SCORE Act
employment?
Just the general, which seems to be the bit, from a Division III standpoint, probably the largest external threat to the viability of Division III athletics.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that Division III is not like the other divisions. Division III student athlete experience is very unique. It's very well-rounded, holistic. There's a lot of aspects to it that are outside of our athletics. We don't get athletic scholarship, and all of the media really focuses on those D1 lawsuits that you see all the time. You're focusing on the transfer portal, you're focusing on these student athletes who their name, their image, their likeness is plastered everywhere, and they deserve the compensation for that. And so I understand sort of where that that desire for honoring those student athletes is coming from. However, at a Division III level, we are not in that sort of same position, in that same boat. So when we are talking as our committee, as a group, we're acknowledging that yes, that happens at Division I, but that doesn't happen at Division III. So for us, being employees is the most important part of that SCORE Act. That's the piece that applies the most to us, because like I mentioned earlier, like our model would not survive if we were classified as employees.
One of the other priorities you mentioned was life after sport, which every time you talk to a student athlete, the transition is obviously very difficult.
Yes.
I'm curious, as you transition, as maybe the example we can look to, what has been the biggest challenge in your mind? And if you could maybe go back a year or two, what would you have tried to do differently to better prepare yourself for where you maybe sit now?
Yeah, so I actually think I've had the advantage of being prepared for life after sport through my experiences on campus. So I think perks of being a Division III athlete is that I was able to be involved in research projects with my professors, and I worked with the associate provost on data research, and I was a tour guide, and I helped in our digital media studio, and I did anything you could think of pretty much on campus. Yeah, and so I think that having those experiences meant that I had an identity outside of my sport. My sport wasn't my whole life. It was a huge part of my career. It gave me my best friends. It allowed me to have the privilege of being on National SAAC and having these experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise had. And I would go back and play in a heartbeat, like give a stick in my hand, like field hockey is my heart. But at the same time, I understand that there are bigger things out there that I have the opportunity to do, and I'm confident in my abilities to do them because of the lessons I've learned through my sport, as well as the other activities and organizations that I was involved in. And I think that that's something we've sort of focused on, is finding something that you enjoy to do outside of your sport, and also understanding how to talk about your life in athletics and how that translates into life outside of athletics. Because student athletes, we have the skills, we have the leadership skills, we have the communication skills, we have the accountability, we have the time management, and knowing how to use those skills in a professional setting and not just an athletic setting is something that is really important.
As we look at the mental health first aid partnership that the division has had, I sat with Louise yesterday, and she mentioned that about a third of Division III schools have basically taken these division up on it.
Yeah.
I'm curious what, as a former student athlete, the impact that you think that they may have in the long run for your fellow student athletes.
For sure. So we actually had the honor of getting mental health first aid trained during our first day, during our meetings. So on Monday, Division III SAAC was here, and we did the whole training. It's about 6 to 8 hours. So a longer day, but really, really beneficial. And we talked about there, it is so important for our coaches to have the ability to talk. During a mental health first aid presentation this morning at Issues Forum, she mentioned that 53% of student athletes say that their coach is the first person they talk to about mental health struggles, but only 50% of coaches feel comfortable talking about mental health and feel as though they have the resources to support those who may be going through some sort of mental health crisis. So it's really important for us to get those resources to administrators, to coaches, to the people who are dealing directly with student athletes. We were the first student athletes to be trained in mental health first aid, so that's really cool and definitely something that we want to continue to spread. But having an administrator who can recognize the signs early on just strengthens a topic we've been talking about for a long time, which is the mental health of student athletes and how that affects their performance.
One of the other big topics of note for Division III, especially within SAAC, has been the partnership for the association with both Team Impact and the Special Olympics.
Yes.
What has that had an impact on you
Yeah.
throughout your career?
Yeah, it's awesome. So Team Impact is a newer partnership with Division III. It's amazing, super cool organization. They allow student athletes to connect, have a new team member with someone who really loves to be connected to someone outside of their everyday life, right? They're not living as healthily as some student athletes are. And so it's really nice for them to have a different partnership. Taking my grad year at Alvernia, one of our teams, the women's lacrosse team, they have a Team Impact athlete on their team. So that's pretty cool to see that firsthand. But the Special Olympics partnership this is our 15th year, so super exciting. We've had Special Olympics events at all of our conventions, as well as all of our July meetings. And if you ask any Division III athlete, they have had some sort of experience with Special Olympics, whether that be at their conference, their campus. And yesterday we had our Special Olympics event here with Special Olympics Virginia, Maryland, D.C. And it was just so heartwarming. There's just no other way to describe it. I spent the entire 3 hours dancing with some of the coolest people I've ever met, and they were showing me their moves. I was showing them mine. And I think that just makes a unified platform where everyone is on the same page. Dancing is for everyone, and I think it was really fun to sort of experience as athletes in that setting.
And how does it maybe help round out, in a way, your student athlete experience, to have somebody, to have that experience to maybe take a step back from all the things that you're managing, classes, athletics, time management, your personal life.
Yeah.
There's a laundry list of things that you're managing. To be able to take a step back, what does that impact maybe had?
Yeah, I think that you realize how much of an honor it is to be part of a team who really cares about you and values you. And I think that being able to provide value into anyone's life, even if it's just for a few minutes, and making them feel seen, feel heard, feel as though they belong, means the world to anyone. And I think that starting in that position, the growth that Division III has had through this partnership and understanding what impact you can make outside of yourself, I think has really been super, super fun to sort of experience.
Honestly, this last big topic before we wrap up. I'm curious how you, as a former Division III student athlete, have thought about the advent, the expansion of NIL within. Well, you can take it as big as you want, I guess. Obviously, there's no Division III student athletes getting $1 million checks. It's a very different.
Unfortunately.
It's a very different reality. But as that continues to become more commonplace across maybe high-level college athletics, the trickle down to certain Division III schools has obviously happened. We've seen certain collectives pop up.
Yeah.
Curious what you think how you think those two kind of mix.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So we do vote for a resolution at business session tomorrow that will analyze the NIL landscape. So we're asking the NCAA and Division III President's Council to figure out what that looks like at Division III, and are there solutions that can help to make the platform, the landscape, a little more easily understood by student athletes. I think that that's one of the things that D3 has not really touched upon. It does trickle down from Division I. You hear a lot of big things, but right now most of the Division III things are brand deals. So it's like promoting a product, posting a social media reel, something along those lines. And I think that the more that we understand what our role is in NIL, the more opportunity there will be for student athletes across the board to have better opportunities. And our student athletes have started those conversations with our athletic directors, our commissioners, and I think that the more information we have as to how to approach the brands yourself rather than them coming to you is probably where Division III is really focused right now.
Excellent. Lillian, thank you for joining me here in D.C.
Thank you so much.